Bethel, where Abraham had his covenant and built an altar. Bethel. Remember where Jacob had a dream of a ladder ascending and descending? That was at Bethel. The Ark of the Covenant was kept at Bethel. Deborah and Samuel judged civil and religious affairs at Bethel. This is the history of Bethel. But he turned his back on Bethel and turned toward King Jeroboam. And what I want you to understand is that we can never turn our back on Bethel. Bethel is the house of God. You see, the priest, let me break it down this way. He turned his back on Bethel, the house of God. The reason he is in the position he is right now is not because of Jeroboam the king, but because of the testimonies of people who lived and worked in Bethel. And sometimes there are people that turn their back on Bethel, the house of God, saying, I no longer need the house of God because I'm in a position and I no longer need that. My connection is to the king and not to the King of Kings. But the priest turned his back upon Bethel. And in this day and age, we have turned our back in many ways on Bethel. We have pundits and writers are saying that there is no need for the African American church anymore because we now live in a post-racial society. We no longer need Bethel. We no longer need protest. We no longer need the cultural matrix that comes out of the Bethel church, the church that operates out of the African stratum. We no longer need that anymore because we're in a post-racial society. I would not say we are in a post-racial society. We have made great strides. I am proud of President Obama, the most powerful black man on the planet. But we have the most powerful African American on the planet is president. But we are at a time when African American people are at their weakest. Most powerful man on the planet, but yet our community is the weakest. And it is this time that we need Bethel, the house of God. That Bethel cannot be co-opted by people who do not care about our community. Don't you know it was Bethel that got us to where we are right now? How do you think we made it through slavery? Bethel. How do you think we made it through Jim Crow? Bethel. How do you think we started the civil rights movement? Bethel. How do you think we got to the White House? Bethel. It was Bethel that made it the house of God. What's so powerful about Bethel? It's the house of God that when people entered into Bethel during the Abrahamic period, they recognized and understood that the ground that I stand on is God's. The air I breathe is God's. The blood pumping through my veins is God. The fact I can blink is because of God. The fact I can wave my hands is because of God. The fact I can speak is because of God. And when I come into Bethel, I have to thank God. And when I begin to think, Reverend Jacobs, I have to thank, because thinking and thanking go hand in hand. And when I think about his goodness and all he's done for me, all I can do is shout. Is there anybody here that's in Bethel, the house of God, that you know if it had not been for the Lord on our side, where would we be? Bethel. Bethel has allowed us to come to this point. Bethel has allowed us to come over many dangers, toils, and snares. When we could not read, the Bible would still talk to us. When we did not have a job, God knew how to put money in our pockets. When we did not have a roof over our heads, he was our shelter in the time of our storm. It is because of Bethel.